And Eric Sheetshaber. We're going to be talking through today's it's a monster MLB slate. I was going to say the number of games, but it just escaped me for some reason right as I was starting to do it. But I had a really good day yesterday. I got lucky with the extra innings in the Oakland game. I was going to cash no matter what. I just played one lineup in the morning right before we did our show, and I was saying that I thought it would be fun to get some exposure to that Oakland Colorado game, and I didn't realize I guess all the exposure, But yeah, I had a couple, as you would say, swipes. I needed a home run from a couple of guys in the end. It would have won me the tournament. Instead, I finished fifth. But it's always nice with one lineup on a small day to have a nice profit. And then it came back at night and had the third best possible score in the basketball, and almost tied for I think it would have been like a 15-way chop for like 15,000 or so. Maybe it was 10 ways, somewhere around there. Anyway, but it just missed. I had Drew Holiday, needed 5 more from him or 5 less from Jaylen Brown, whichever way you like it, and would have been really fun. So, but still, another good night. A good night, and I'm not going to complain about it. I'm very happy. And Sheets, you did pretty well too. Talk about it.
This is actually kind of funny. You talk about there's a lot of ways to win and the way baseball works. So I had played one big lineup in both the 555 and 44. And the 440 and the 250, and I cashed pretty decently too. And my lineup literally was leveraged against Bobby's lineup, and they both cashed. So I went against the Skens guy and stacked the Giants, and I actually used Feltner as my pitcher. So and both approaches ended up cashing nicely. So
can I tell you the one thing that I'm really happy didn't happen, but almost happened? Because there was a guy, and he must have made a mistake, but he had a full 5-man ace stack and Feltner as the pitcher, and that almost got there. I mean, by the way, if he had anything else on the side, he would have gotten there because that would have been the nuts. But it just was like, I mean, it is really weird how baseball works. Anyway, so with that said, let's get into today's slate.
Okay.
It's a fun one
today I'm afraid to build the SaberSim lineups. I just am because I know what's coming. Because it just seems so easy today, and whenever it's so easy, SaberSim wants you to play 100% something different. So let's start to it, and I consider this like the bookend slate. Okay, so I am going to start with with LA against Cincinnati.
Let's pull your thing up and we'll do it.
And I have 2 stacks which are lay over the field as far as I'm concerned, and one of them is, you never see this. It's usually like you talk about visuals in the geography of like looking at slates. You usually see the Dodgers all the way on like the bottom right, because it's late game at home, right? So all the way the bottom right. But for this day, they're all the way the top left because they're playing on the road on the East Coast. So let's just start with the fact that I have the Dodgers as one of the 2 easier stacks on the board. They actually show up as decent value also. So I think the Dodgers are clearly one of the top 2. We'll get to the other one a little much later on in this broadcast, but I have to imagine they're going to be somewhat popular.
They're not. I don't think so. That's the thing that's exciting about it to me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, when I first look at it, it doesn't look like they will be, but I don't know how they can't be. But we'll see. As far as the pitching goes, I myself am not getting to Paxton, for example. And I am not getting to Ashcraft either, nor am I getting to the Reds. Actually, that's not true. I actually have the Reds rated like number 5 as far as value goes. So if you start going elsewhere, I do think Cincinnati is going to end up getting in some stacks.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So for what it's worth, first thing, like Cincinnati's obviously, I would say for DFS purposes, it's either number 2 or 3 along with Boston in terms of hitters parks. Just because the size of it makes it so small and easy to hit for power or whatnot. The Red Sox have the short left field and the giant center, so you get a lot more doubles, triples, whatever. Anyway, it's a great hitter's park, and it's 81 degrees, 4 miles an hour wind blowing in does not mean anything to me. And when it's 81 degrees and 57% humidity, and it's Cincinnati, it feels very much like let's just play the Dodgers, and that's going to be the obvious thing. And on top of it, Ashcraft, he actually pitched okay against the Dodgers last time. It was literally his last start. So it's important to know that to just know that I don't think it's a good thing in general when you for a great hitting team, or it is a good thing for the great hitting team. It's not a good thing for the pitcher when you go back-to-back starts against an awesome team. The thing that I do feel concerned about a little bit is I'm telling you the way that Cincinnati treated that series in LA was like it was the freaking World Series, and you're getting a different guy every inning. I think when the Dodgers come to town the first time, there's a little worry that okay, Ashcraft is a little bit of trouble. Maybe we bring in a different reliever for each inning. You know what I mean? That same sort of thing I talked about. It's kind of a like overthinking probably, but it is still like something that, at least I'm factoring in a little bit. There's no way I won't be way over the field on the Dodgers today but if they were going to be like 20% owned as a stack, then I would be finding excuses to get off of it because there are a lot of teams to like today. But the Dodgers I do have right at the top, along with another team we'll mention. Well, another two teams actually that we'll mention pretty shortly.
Ooh, we got a third one, huh? Okay,
well, there's the third one is the obvious one. The other one is going to be in the 4-10 and the 7-10 win.
I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's see. Okay, so Milwaukee against Boston, I have next.
Yep.
I'm not really getting to the pitching here, but hitting wise, I have actually Boston rated top value today. And in addition to that, I have them kind of good with the raw points also. So I am actually considering Boston alongside of the Dodgers and I guess Philly would be one of my top three for today. So.
You named the three. You named it. You nailed it.
Well, we know Philly, right?
Yeah.
But I do like Boston as my other of the three.
Yeah, I'm with you. I honestly am confused. I mean, first of all, it's 11 miles an hour wind blowing out to right center field in Wrigley, and it's 78 degrees. We were playing Wrigley games because it was Wrigley, like literally not like a few weeks ago when it was 48 degrees and wind's blowing in. It's 78 degrees. The wind's blowing out. I think this is a great spot to take the Red Sox. I have them right there with the Dodgers, and I like the Dodgers better. But I do like the Red Sox, and on top of it, like as you mentioned with the value, there is value throughout that lineup, especially at the bottom. But Dominic Smith, I mean, assuming he's in his 2.3, and he's not been great. I don't know why Connor Wong isn't more expensive, but I absolutely love this guy. Abreu, the only really expensive ones are Devers, who's awesome, and O'Neill. But I think this is a really, really good stack. I know that it's going to be fairly owned. I think they'll be more popular than the Dodgers because of the pricing. It's going to be close-ish. But either way, on a big slate like this, I'm very happy to stick with it. I don't mind the idea of a very low-owned Cutter Crawford. And it's strictly because I think Milwaukee maybe gets a little too much respect for their offense. At the same time, like it's not the right slate for it, but it's a great, like I said, the great hitting works both ways. It's a good spot for Milwaukee too. But Crawford has the strikeout upside, I think, to at least make himself as a fringe play for tournaments. That's the best way I can put it. A little bit ahead of Paxton in that realm for me. Texas, Minnesota.
Yeah, well, one thing we haven't gotten to yet is any pitching, actually, and I think we're gonna have to wait a little longer.
We're gonna have a weird time with the pitching today. This is gonna be an interesting one.
Yeah, I don't have anything from this game as far as pitching goes. Neither Ober nor Arena. Now, isn't Arena the guy that we used to stack against every game?
He was a very briefly really good a while ago, and then he was the worst for a while. And I don't know where he is right now, except for to say that he still can't strike anybody out. And I'm very surprised to see the Minnesota total isn't even higher than it is, which it's fairly high, but I thought it could have been like 5+ today. So yes, I guess we can still stack against him. If that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I personally am not getting there right now. I was just kind of trying to think about what we used to do at least. But so I'm basically off of this game. You want to know the truth?
Again, and this is like, I mean, you're going to hear it's crazy how the weather changes and things. I mean, it's only 66 degrees, but you have 15-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to the left center field. Another good hitting environment. I like the idea of the Twins. Then I look at the pricing, and I'm a little agitated because they've been scoring runs. So now these guys are like Willie Castro, who we were playing at like 2.3K at the beginning of the year, is now 4.4, and he's still batting 7th for some reason that no one can explain to me because I feel like every day he's got double-digit fantasy points. Anyway, I like the idea a little bit of getting some exposure against Urena. I like the other stacks too much to prioritize ahead of them, but so will everyone else. And to have like a sub 5% owned Minnesota team here against Urena at home with the best hitting weather like they've had for the most part this season in Minnesota, I think it's a pretty reasonable third stack. So they definitely, or another stack to consider. They definitely are high on my list. Not as high as the three major ones, but they're right beneath the other ones. And I love the low ownership. I am not getting to Texas, although it would not surprise me if they got to Ober. And I'm not getting to Ober. It's just the way that it is. I like Ober as a pitcher. I still believe in Texas offense is very tough to get through.
So just so you know, this is how good I've become at like building these lineups and doing these sim stuff. Like while we're going over the last like game or so, I ran the Saber Sim stuff. I uploaded my projections, uploaded my initial lineups, took the contest sim settings, ran all the sims, and without having to look at a single lineup to see who I have yet. So we're going to save that to the end.
Okay.
We're all ready to do reveal, you know? I'm literally
it.
not looking, and it's being hidden behind other screens. So I'm very curious to see what we end up with after all is said and done.
Me too.
Okay, so San Francisco against the Mets. So this is the first of the pitchers that I'm getting to here, and that would be, well, I was gonna say, and I'm still gonna say, I'm getting a bunch of this Christian Scott character. I have him rated. Now I should say that there's like a whole bunch of guys that look close to me, but he's one of them. So Christian Scott's in there. I'm a little surprised. I guess I'll have to look through the projections of why Harrison is not really listed anywhere on my board. I have him with like a really modest projection. It's not like the Mets are any great shake. So I don't know about that one, but definitely Christian Scott is someone on near, I would say, the top of my list. But I mean, I look into other bigger names that I'd probably rather play. But he certainly looks good enough for me. So I do like Christian Scott here.
Yeah, Kyle Harrison was my opening day or whatever, the first game he pitched hero, because he was like 1% owned and he had 11 strikeouts and put up 37 fantasy points. Now since then he has not put up more than 20, and he's too expensive to me. I get why he's not popular. I understand it. I think it's a reasonable pivot, like off of Scott. I feel like this Christian Scott thing is first of all, he's the first pitcher I put in today, which feels weird just because I like that mid-range. I don't feel like there's like a whole lot to feel safe and comfortable with, and I really want to get to the stacks that I want. I'm starting to wonder if it's one of those slates where we should just say F it, let's play Zach Gallen and Corbin Burns or something. You know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a lot of variance in these guys who are going to be popular, and Christian Scott's going to be popular. I do have him right now as, like I said, he's in my first lineup I built. But I'm curious to see what we come up with by the end of it, because I don't know where I stand with this pitching, and I've gone over it for quite a while this morning, and I feel very up in the air with what I want to do. Okay, moving forward to a game that's not, or what is it?
No, I do have Baltimore or Chicago.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think this game is going to play, but
oh really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
I mean,
wow. Okay,
they've got it as
I didn't even look.
Yeah, it's a orange red.
That's it. That makes the pitching even more interesting, huh?
Yeah, Roth said he'd be. What he's saying. My immediate thought here is probably not going to happen.
Yeah, I didn't look. Oh, that's interesting.
So that's why we can't do that. I guess the Burns thing. I could use another stand-up guy, but so just go ahead. So assuming that it was a full go and the when things clear out in Chicago, we've seen it happen before. What? Imagine it's playing. Who are you interested? I mean, I guess other than Burns.
That's it.
That's the whole thing.
I mean, you could try Baltimore, but I don't think so. Flexion's usually annoying to stack against, at least for me. So I probably wouldn't touch the Baltimore side, but I mean, I'm sure Burns would be it's funny. I was looking at the projections, and he doesn't really stand out as like the top play, which is a little weird to me. So I'm kind of glad the game's getting rained out, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, maybe something changes. If this game was a full go, I can very safely assure you that Baltimore would be right there with the Dodgers and with Boston for me. I think they'd be ahead of Boston. I want to pick on not just flexing. I just think that these horrible teams, you have chances for like position players to be pitching at certain points if you get into big enough. I mean, it's just a mess with the White Sox in general, and I just that's what you want. You want that outlier mess. It's 75 degrees with some crosswinds for what it's worth. But I'm a big fan of this Orioles lineup, even though they've been pretty bad to me this year, even though they've been good to other people. So I would have the Orioles very high and Burns very high, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get to any of it if it's even remotely questionable, because there's plenty else to like on the slate. The only thing is the Burns part could be annoying if you get like the weird, they only get to play 7 innings and the guy, he strikes out 11 and has like ends up with a complete game shutout because they have to cancel the game or something. Something like that would be really, really tilting, but that's pretty much all I'm worried about there. All right, Chicago, St. Louis.
Yeah, I'm a little, I don't want to say puzzled, but I'll just say puzzled why Shota Imanaga has a 17-point projection here. I would imagine. I just thought it would be more. I don't know what to say. Mm-hmm. He's very expensive, which makes him hard to play. But just the raw number, I just imagine it would be higher than, say, like I have Christian Scott with a higher raw projection than Imanaga. Doesn't feel right. Let's just put it that way. And as far as hitting goes, really not too much. I mean, I only have like a couple of other, maybe like one other team I want to even highlight hitting wise. I should say before we even leave that game, I did actually have Baltimore, even though it might not play, as okay. I'm just kind of just going through my notes here. So listen, I hate to be boring, but probably not much in this game for me.
Yeah, I'm struggling a little bit because the price on Imanaga is very high, and it's again really good hitting weather in Chicago. It's kind of interesting how low the total is for the Cubs, and I don't want to stack the Cubs. I don't really, even with Mikolas, getting hit more and everything this year, he just generally historically doesn't really walk guys, and that's just really hard to stack against pitchers like that. He does give up home runs, so usually like a mini stacked contender is where I put him at. But I'm kind of interested in the idea, and it's I would rather he'd be a righty against the Cardinals. But I mean, what else can Imanaga do to prove that he is like an elite level pitcher? The guy has just been nothing. I mean, what has he given up this year? He's given up 5 runs in 9 starts. He's got a .84 ERA he's 5-0 with a .85 ERA with a .91 WHIP. I mean, this guy is running away with the Cy Young and could be running away with the MVP at this pace, and no one's going to play him today. So he's very high. Like, look, in my non-Dodger stacks, maybe with a Boston stack or something, I think Imanaga makes a lot of sense because there is the upside, and I think he's been. We pointed out about him a number of times now, Sheets. I think he gets underprojected the most of any pitcher, and he's just always been great. Maybe you could make an argument that we want more strikeouts. And here's the interesting thing is Saberson has him projected for 5. What did they have him at? No, strikeout wise. That's partly what's throwing the thing off. Saberson has him projected at 5.4 strikeouts. His last games, 7, 8, 8, 7, 7. I don't really know why it would be. And he had a 5 and a 4 before that, but then he was sort of working his way into it. I don't really know why we would be assuming that low. So whatever is strikeout prop out there, if it's below 6.5, I would probably just take a shot on that for what it's worth. And I do like Imanaga as a contrarian spend up. And he won't be that contrarian. He won't be as contrarian if Corbin Burns gets canceled, but he still will be contrarian. All right, now we go to Coors.
Yeah. So what's standard this year is the fact that away teams in Colorado get really high projections, and they they're really popular, and they either get there or they don't, right? But what's new this year, and I've commented on this many times, is the streaming of these road pitchers against Colorado, because of how bad Colorado is as a team. I mean, I don't remember it ever being this way. I mean, maybe Colorado's just that bad this year, but I just remember that it didn't matter what Colorado was. Like when people played in Colorado, both teams' totals were just jammed, and the pitchers were unplayable. And this year it's just a little different. I mean, from Cease to, I mean, I can give examples, but pretty much every one of these teams that goes into Colorado, the pitchers just get played, and Sanchez is one of them. I mean, Sanchez is showing up for me as a very reasonable value here. It's not like a top player or anything like that, but certainly looks playable. And I guess that's somewhat interesting. Philly, alongside of the Dodgers, they're going to be, the most popular. I shouldn't say most popular, but the highest projected team. And as usual, it just depends on what you want to accomplish. The good thing is, Bobby, I don't know if any pitcher is going to be that chalky.
Yeah, I agree with you.
So
it'll shift once Corbin Burns is out. Somebody's going to pick up steam. It'll probably be
So what I was about to say is that, well, you don't want to play X with Philly, but I don't even know exactly who X is. I guess it's got to be Verlander, but we'll get to that in a minute, or maybe Gallen. We'll get to that in a minute too. So like a lot of these pitchers are all in these late games. But yeah, Philly's going to project really well. They're hitting their stride. They're hitting it well, and they're in Colorado. So why wouldn't they project?
Yeah, and they're priced like it too at the top, especially. You do have some cheaps. Kristen Pache, if he's in there, is 2,800. Definitely, I guess, a pinch hit risk, but like Ty Block, I don't. Me, I don't usually love this guy sucks or this guy is. I don't like saying that kind of stuff, but Ty Block, I feel pretty comfortable saying that. And 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to left center. It's only 67 degrees, but that's still warmer than most of the games we've been talking about in Colorado. So I think that the way to do it would be to I think if you play Sanchez, playing him in your Colorado stacks, in your Philly stacks actually makes sense. Even with him showing up, I don't think he's going to get he's not going to be more than 15% owned. You know what I mean? It's still going to be fair enough low ownership, and it correlates well with stacking the team because, if Philly does go off and score 10 runs plus, or 7, 6-0 after 2 or 3, just allows Sanchez to sort of do his thing. It's a lot easier, lot better for pitchers, especially as far as strikeouts go. You don't really need to worry about anything. Anyway, so I do think Sanchez is in play, and the Phillies are such a good stack. It's so obvious. It's going to be hard to outscore them. Some of but look, it's baseball. There's enough other teams out there. And I think I'm just going to do my normal thing. And when you got a team it's a huge slate, and they're going to be, I think they're going to end up being I don't know. I think you're going to see guys 25% owned in some cases. And I think everybody will be double-digit owned. Although I'm looking at Goldie's projections, which has them a little bit lower. And if that's the case, if they're anywhere below 20% on their best hitters, I think you kind of probably want to eat a little bit of it, at least take some shots. I think it's for me, basically, my rule for Philadelphia is, or unless I find another way off the board pitcher, is probably to keep it to 4 or less. Maybe if you played something like Imanaga and Sanchez or something and could find a way to stack Philadelphia, maybe that's the way to do it, because you're going to need some low ownership at pitcher to get different enough, in my opinion, unless you're max entering yourself. Okay.
All right. So speaking of which, I'll take a shot. Okay. So Cleveland against the Angels, you have Patrick Sandoval and Logan Allen, and they're both 7,400. And the Angels have put up just incredible runs, given since Trout's been out. I can't imagine. I just haven't seen anything like this.
It happens every time he goes out too. I swear. Going back here.
But so I'm looking at this, and I see Sandoval. For the Angel side, it's he has an okay projection, I guess, and 20% owned. But you know what? I look down the list a little bit here, and I see Logan Allen, who doesn't have the greatest projection in the world, but he's less than 5% owned, at least on the early look. And I mean, the Angels still, objectively are not great. Even despite the results of the contrary. I don't know. I mean, I've biased or whatever. He's been good to me in the past. He just coming off a good game. He's got a couple of good games this year. And I don't know if you're looking for a pitcher to pair with chalkier stacks. I think Logan Allen's worth a shot.
Completely agree with you. Sandoval is looking like he's going to be really popular. Cleveland, for what it's worth, does strike out more than average against lefties. So they're not the same against lefties as they are against righties. but they also aren't. They also hit them pretty well. They have, I think like the third best WOBA of anybody against lefties. So I don't know that I really want to like take a chalky Sandoval here, but I mean he's on my list, but like it feels kind of wrong. I like the Logan Allen idea. I think that's a completely reasonable idea. For what it's worth, these teams have the same total. They're 3.75. It's only 64 degrees in Anaheim. I'm good with it, man. I'm good with both sides. I'm good with either of the pitchers. I'm not getting to any of the hitting, but it is weird, the Logan Allen thing. I kind of agree with you. Like, it doesn't really make sense why what the difference is so great between he and Sandoval would be. And in fact, they're only projected 3 fantasy points different. That's basically 1 strikeout. I don't see any reason why it couldn't shift. I like the Logan Allen thing, I guess, a little bit is what I was saying. So I'm with you on that get different Logan Allen play.
Yeah, by the way, I just figued it out as we get,
it's going to be Verlander.
To figure this out, it's going to be Gallen Verlander. I mean, that's just as we get to this Arizona game. I mean, this is just what it's going to be. I mean, Gallen is against Miami. In Miami, whether they deserve it or not, they have a reputation for being a team you'd always stream against anyway. And Gallen, with the absence of Burns, that Gallen is the new ceiling. You know what I mean? Like, although again, the Seaman Huck, he can, I don't know what people's problem with him is. But I think the Gallen Verlander pairing is going to be kind of what people do. And I have to say, I mean, like I said, I don't have Gallen projected that great. I have him a point or 2 ahead of Imanaga, but he's obviously 1,000 points less. And then I have him only a point or 2 better than Christian Scott, who's 2,000 less, but he does have that 30-point, possibility here, which is, it's just kind of what you want. So yeah, Gallen, why not? And then again, if you're looking for teams outside of Dodgers in Philadelphia, we already talked about Boston. Just because of the way I have them ranked, I have Arizona next, like after all that. So that would be my pivot, sort of. That would be the best way I could describe it. So I do like Arizona's 4th, 5th best stack. And Gallen is probably the chalk pitcher, along with Verlander.
Yeah, I think that's the natural thing people will do. I also do think it'll spike just a tiny bit of Imanagas, just because if people are going to be able to spend up, they're going to go one way or the other. I just want to say, like, I don't know that Braxton Garrett isn't a really good play. I understand that Arizona is a good baseball team. They're certainly not what they were on their miracle run last year. They're basically awesome against left-handed pitching in terms of hitting. They strike out still an average amount. So I don't know. Braxton Garrett has the strikeout stuff for a guy who's 5,800 to really pay off his salary. Like, he's not the same. He's looked terrible his first 2 starts, but the strikeouts have been right there. I guess the easiest thing I can do is bet the over on his strikeout prop, which is probably like 3.5. And just collect money that way. But I am considering it. And I like Gallen. I'm a little surprised he's not projecting a little bit better. It's not like Miami's dangerous. For what it's worth, the roof is closed today. So I don't mind. And Arizona, I think, is going to be sort of, as you would say, the hipster stack. I think that'll be today's hipster stack. I think people are going to play Arizona against Garrett. And the people getting different from the Dodgers, Philly, and Boston. And I think it's fine. I just personally like other things better. It wouldn't surprise me if I ended up with a little bit of Arizona because they're cheap. Like, Grichuk is probably going to be in the middle of the order at 3,200. I like Moreno in this matchup. Eugenio Suarez, I love against lefties. I've been saying for a while Arizona is a really dangerous team against lefties, partly because they built their entire roster to compete with the Dodgers, who at the time, back then, had all lefty pitchers basically except for one, and the Dodgers have sort of revamped their whole rotation and everything. So they're awesome against lefties. I see it as a not a 4-pronger because I'm not really interested in Miami, but I like Gallen. I am open to Arizona, and I kind of am open to Braxton Garrett, which is hard to say out loud. But
I'm looking. I was Garrett's have his strikeout prop up here. It's over 3.5. juice to the over actually. So we would have to lay $1.65.
Yeah, if it was like 4.5 in the other way, I would even take that. Like, I just think that I mean, he's a good.
We could do that. You know what I mean? So
well, let's what could the outline be, because I think that's an interesting one to look at.
Yeah. So let's see. X plus strikeouts. We have, these are some alternates. So let's just take a look. And these are, I'm just poised for the idea that it's going to be a terrible line, whatever it is, just because that's usually what it is. Yeah, Garrett, if you wanted to go 6+, it's plus 240. That's not that bad, I guess. So over 5.5 is plus 240 if you want it.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough.
I think that's a very reasonable bet personally. But
well, yeah, because if they leave him in, I mean, to take his lumps, he'll probably get the strikeouts.
It's just a matter of how. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, the thing is, like, look, I mean, he got hit around in the last 2 games. They want him to get his pitch count back up because he's coming off of an injury. So he's thrown 80 and 90 pitches, and in those games he struck out. In the game where he threw 80, he struck out 8. He struck out 5 against the Mets when he threw 90, where he really got hit around. And that's with him getting lit up a little bit. So I don't know. It's an interesting bet. I'll put it that way. I think I probably would gamble on it because I think there's a chance for that 5 or 6, which means I'm probably going to end up throwing him into a DFS lineup or 2. We've got who is it in the chat saying this thing about the Travis is talking about the Giants. Don't chase like that. A team's been putting up runs lately. The Giants. I just think that's such a bad way to play. Now, if you like the Giants, that's fine. For what it's worth, the Giants are a very, very mediocre offense that scores runs in the ways that you really don't want to score runs. That's without power. So I would not be looking at the Giants as a stack on this thing. I think that's really, really, really off my board and just definitely have zero interest in it. Especially also you're taking in like 2 extra inning games into account, I think, where you're starting with a runner on second base. So that's like basically a free run. Yeah, I'm not interested in the Giants. All right. Next up, we have what do we have?
Houston, Oakland.
Oh, Houston, Oakland. Okay, so here's I think that Verlander will be the other chalk.
Is that good chalk though? I don't know.
I think it's weird. Like the only real good great game he's had out this year has been back in Detroit. That's not a coincidence. Like I don't, you know what I mean? There's a little extra revving it up there. I think that makes a difference to a guy like Verlander. And I think they also let him pitch more in that one. Travis, go ahead and play the San Francisco. I'm not gonna. I just made my case. You made yours. Go ahead and play him. I'm no problem with it. Just not in any interest for me.
Can I stack Will Clark and Bonds or?
It's just like a platooning team that doesn't hit for power in a bad hitter's park against a guy who we think is a pretty good pitcher. But yeah, I mean, it's not the worst idea. I'm not going to stack them, but I mean, sure, there's maybe take a batter or 2. I don't know. This is not.
Did those guys ever play together, Will Clark and Barry Bonds, or no?
They did.
Okay.
They had to.
I don't know.
No. They crossed over. That was in. I don't actually know. It's a good question. I don't think they did.
I know Will Clark was with Candy Maldonado. I don't know if they were still around when Barry Bonds got there.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I feel like that's one I really usually should know. And
right. I mean, it's an easy one to answer, but I was curious if you knew. You know what I mean?
I wish I
you had the actual remembrance of them being together. So.
No, I don't quite remember it. All right, so look, Verlander. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's just because I don't have like a strong lean. I like some of the I like the Gallen and I like the Imanaga as a get different play. I like the Scott. I do think Verlander, like if you're playing a cash game, makes sense just because it is Oakland. By the way, and Oakland's been like they haven't been the worst. You know what I mean? And Verlander has not been awesome. So maybe this is bad. Maybe this is just a little bit of a mistake. I just think I'm still going to end up with some of it. It's Oakland. I feel comfortable enough that he can get through 6 decent innings, but I'm a little concerned, to be honest. And I certainly don't mind. Like I don't want to stack Oakland against Verlander, but if you want to use some cheap bats, you're going to get guys like Seth Brown and my hero from yesterday at 2,500. If you wanted to take a couple shots, I certainly don't mind it. But yeah, and I think I think also like Houston is kind of in play. I believed in what Stripling was a while ago, and he just hasn't been the same guy. Can he put together 5 good innings? Maybe. I just don't think I want to bet on it. But yeah, I think it's mostly Verlander for me, and I don't know if I want to pay these prices for the Astros in 50-degree weather, personally. So that's just throwing things out there. And then we are closing it out with your Yankees in San Diego, which is
wait, one question for a second. Any interest in Houston? Because that's actually the next team. Oh, did you mention it?
Yeah, I'm just saying it's 57 degrees. So you got a game in the 50s. There's absolutely an upside for their offense at their ownership. So I guess, yes, they belong on the list, but I don't think I'm going to end up doing it. They're expensive, and they're in the second worst hitters park in baseball, in front of no people, which I still don't know how to weigh that stuff or what that means. For whatever reason, it seems to help Oakland. They've been playing way above their heads all year long. And for what it's worth, I think that if you want to make a bet on Oakland and bet against Verlander in this game, you can bet the A's, I think, plus 150 or so. I think that's actually a reasonable bet. I don't know. I just don't know what to do with the Houston thing. They're just so far below my other stacks that I guess I could talk myself into it, but I'd have to really think about it. Kyle Tucker, either way, has been amazing.
Wow, I'm actually kind of amazed. So the Oakland A's, in their game at home against the Rockies, they actually had 6,800 people. That's actually high for them, I think, this year.
That is really high for them. I don't know. Must have been like a giveaway night or something.
Maybe it was the Zach Geldof bobblehead night or something.
Yeah, it probably was. We joke, it might have been.
Well, today, listen, they got Houston coming to town, so maybe they'll get a couple of the FL2V people coming to.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
So that. Yankees and Carlos Rodon, is it? No, against San Diego and Yu Darvish. Yeah. So this is definitely a dangerous spot for Darvish. If he is not like around the plate, the Yankees will let him walk them like 80 times. Boy, I wonder if I could play the Yankees here just as something to do. I do see Darvish at 8K being reasonable enough at 15% ownership. And I'm not getting to Rodon, obviously. Obviously we can't play Rodon ever, but I wonder if I want to play the Padres. I wonder if that's what I'm supposed to do. I wonder if I'm supposed to fade all that other stuff and just late night hammer the Yankees and the Padres. Tell me some good weather news there, maybe.
It's San Diego. It can't be that good. It's got to be like 60, right? Yeah, 60 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of like the creativity of the going against Darvish. I just think that the prices are tough. It is the little Juan Soto, revenge from his brief.
It is. That is true.
I kind of like Rodon.
Okay.
So let me just go through it really quick. So
hang on one second. I gotta let my dog in. Hold on one second.
Yeah. All right. Well, while he's letting the dog in, I'll talk real quickly about the rest of this game because I don't really have that much interest in the hitting, like on its face. It's hard for me to get to. And maybe you can make an argument for the Padres. I would doubt that with this lineup the Padres have that people realize how bad they've been against left-handed pitching.
Oh, no.
They don't strike out a ton. That's the part that makes it a little bit tricky. The strikeouts are like 22%, a little higher. The batting average is 217. It's the fourth worst WOBA against lefties this season. And they're playing at home. I just, again, speaking of doing different things with pitching, like if you wanted to play the Phillies and you could find a way to get a cheap secondary stack, you could 5-man Phillies with Rodon and Imanaga and be different enough, I think. You know what I mean? Something like that would be just way off the board. And on a board where we don't know, we're talking about playing Verlander as chalk when the guy's put up 10 or less fantasy points in like 3 or 4 out of his last 5, 3 out of his last 4. And as much as I also worry about Darvish, I also think like at what's going to be low-ish ownership, shouldn't we consider him at 8K? Like, is he really that different of a play than these other guys? I don't know. It's just so that's sort of like my issue with the pitching today. I've got a bunch of I kind of like that, I kind of like that, and the guys I probably am going to end up with in my big buy-in are going to be probably Scott and Verlander at the moment because I feel like the safest, and I still don't feel safe with them. So I'm going to try to look for some other stuff between now. I know you won't be here tonight, but I'll be live at 6, and I'm going to try and find some other stuff we can get into before that because it just doesn't feel great to play mega chalk pitching when it doesn't it makes sense with Verlander because it's Oakland, but it doesn't and you hear the name, but I feel like a lot of these numbers seem a little too high and there's no outrageously high, even Corbin Burns only has a 6K prop. Justin Verlander has the highest strikeout expectancy on SaberSim. That's bizarre. All of these other guys, I don't know. Maybe it's I can't figure out what I'm going to do yet. And there's
as I teased before, I did the SaberSim run earlier, and I'm curious to see what this does. So we're going to pull this up, and we're going to look at pitching first. Pitching, if this is in the bat flip, assuming the contest systems and everything, it would still be getting Verlander. Then actually Christian Scott and Sanchez would be the next one. I wouldn't really be getting too much Gallon. Okay, so interestingly, also I'd be only getting 16% Burns, assuming he plays. So it would be the Verlander Sanchez kind of a mid-range build. And with respect to the team stacks, it would be the Yankees, the top-owned stack. Let's go. There you go.
Not? Let's
go.
Wait, did they play last night? No.
Yeah, they shut out the Mariners again, I think.
Oh, they did. It wasn't on the slate. The main. Oh no, it was. They did. Yeah. But it was an early game and they got there. Okay, so they had to fly cross country.
But this is with the Sims, so this is already considering ownership and stuff. That's why you'll notice no Philly. I mean, literally.
I think we're gonna battle each other because I think I might end up playing you, Darvish.
Fair enough. I bet. But that's if I just go for the Sims. Now, just to give you an example. If you don't apply the Sims, if you just go to the Saber score, your regular large slate, whatever, I would imagine there it is, 96% Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's just the regular 96%.
So it was 96%, and then when you apply the Sims, you get 0. So,
yep.
Can I say I have a feeling somewhere in the middle is probably optimal, somewhere between 0 and 96. But I will say this. That I would be much more inclined to play 0 than 96.
So can I throw one thing at you about Darvish in his last 3 starts? Do you know how many runs he's given up?
Do it.
Guess how many runs he's given up his last 3 starts?
Well, you planted it. So I'll say I don't know, 15?
0.
Oh, yeah. Really? Stick.
Guess who the teams were?
I would say I'll try to do whatever. Oakland, Detroit, and the White Sox.
At Chicago, Dodgers, and at Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
So I'm just saying, and by the way, he's coming off of 35 in Atlanta, 32 in LA against LA. I think that Darvish is a guy I'm going to be.
Wait. But I got something for you.
He's a Mr. Streaky, this guy, and he is a guy I do like to chase a little bit with because he's so streaky.
But I've got something for you that you're really going to like. So when you just do the regular non-sim adjusted thing for SaberSim, my third highest owned pitcher would be the aforementioned Braxton Garrett.
Ooh, let's go.
See, there it is.
That little crazy creative play. It's going to end up in the one long shot.
Why? Because you see they have adjusted ownership of 2%.
Yeah. So I think that the bats, because I think there's 3 outstanding spots with the Dodgers, Boston, and Philadelphia. I think the bats are coming first for me today. And where the hitting would come first. I'm sorry, where the pitching would come first is if I was going to play maybe Minnesota or Arizona would be where if you wanted to spend up for pitching. But it should be a fun one. It's a nice big slate. I will talk later. I'll also talk a little NBA. And by the way, can I officially announce the WNBA?
Yes. No. Well, I'll announce it in this way. Okay. So I released my first attempt at WNBA projections yesterday. It has a real good confidence level of about 4 out of 100, but it's got to start somewhere, right? I also, for now, until you guys figure out how to get a separate sport for it on the site. I'm just going to probably put it in a spreadsheet in the Discord. But if you want to set it up, to put another sport up there, Bobby, just so I have a place to put it with the same stuff, then I have to actually figure out a way to put it into my macros and stuff. And I want to make sure I want to continue doing it before I spend that much time on it.
We'll call it beta stage. Is that fair?
Right. Well, yeah, we'll call it the lazy stage. How about that? But beta is kind of like, it's the code. For
okay. We're not quite at beta yet.
Right. Not quite at beta. We're kind of like testing. We're at like testing.
R&D.
But for now, I'm just going to put the raw projection file into the Discord. And just listen, some cautions, right? So I don't believe that SaberSim supports it at all, right? They have WNBA. Oh, they do have WNBA? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, people are getting into it now finally.
So I'm going to get a little more into it. But for now, that's where it's going to be. It's going to be in the, and again, real disclaimers. I'm learning. I did my first WNBA slate last night. I played 30 lineups. 29 of them did not cash. So we're learning the good. See, it's better that way. Like if I smash my first day of the WNBA, that would probably long term be terrible for my ROI. But we got to start somewhere. So we're going to start with last night, and we'll compare that to maybe down the road where the results are a little bit better.
Yeah. Go ahead, keep going.
But I'm going to start putting the sheets up. And again, it's not maybe every day, it may not be every day. It just depends when I'm playing. Like I promise you, I'm not putting up this one game showdown slate, whatever this is. Okay. But listen, it's NBA. And if you like the way, it's basketball. So if you like the way basketball results distribute, and I imagine they distribute pretty similarly in women's alongside of men's. And I presume that the way the projections kind of distribute is pretty similar. Now, again, the projections are not nearly as reliable as men's NBA, just because of all the data and the stats and all that stuff, and all the back testing that people do. But hey, it's better than nothing, and we're supporting. So I'm down. Love it.
I think it's great, man. Appreciate it doing all that. And I want to throw out one quick take while you're here for the NBA game. I think this is a good game to bet Minnesota minus 15 or something. I really like Minnesota to hammer them tonight, even though I think it's going to be a long series. Obviously, Dallas took the first game and really shouldn't have. And I think Minnesota will make the appropriate adjustments. And I think this is going to be the Minnesota blowout game. And I wouldn't bet the first half Minnesota leading. I think it'll be a pull away in the third quarter. That's my take for tonight.
I like it.
All right. Well, good luck, everybody. Sheets, have a great day. And if I don't talk to you, enjoy the weekend.